I call this meeting to order. I declare that a quorum is present and that the media has been notified. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the agenda. It's been seconded. Any discussion? Then all of those in favor of this motion, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. At this time, I'll ask everyone to please stand with us for the opening prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of our regular meeting of May the 10th, 2016?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the minutes of our regular meeting of May the 10th, 2016. It's been seconded. Is there any discussion of those minutes? And all those in favor of this motion, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Moving to agenda item 5, the approval of the April 2016 Head Start Budget Expenditures Report, the April 2016 Head Start Credit Card Report, and the Students with Disabilities Waiver Request. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the April 2016 Head Start Budget Expenditures Report, the April 2016 Head Start Credit Card Report, and the submission of Students with Disabilities Waiver Request to the Office of Head Start.
Second.
All right, then we have a motion to approve the April 2016 Head Start Budget Expenditures Report, the Head Start Credit Card Report, and the submission of Students with Disabilities Waiver Request to the Office of Head Start. Do we have any discussion? Then at this time, all of those in favor of this motion, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Then that passes 7-0, is approved. Then moving to agenda item number 6, our Legacy Builders Special Recognition. Turn it over to Miss Amy Murray.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Superintendent Blackburn, ladies and gentlemen of the board, and all of you who have joined us. Tonight, we'd like to recognize 3 individuals. The first is Aubrey Hunter Tillman, 11th grader at Berkeley Center for the Arts. Aubrey won the National Gold Award for his submission to the National Scholastic Art and Writing Competition. He was identified by a panel of creative professionals as one of the most talented in the nation. This year, almost 350,000 works of art and writing were submitted during the competition. Only the top 1% were recognized at the national level. Because of his achievement, Aubrey was invited to attend the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards 2016 National Ceremony at Carnegie Hall on Thursday, June 2nd. At this time, would Aubrey Tillman please come forward to be recognized and receive your certificate? Also, would Aubrey's parents please stand? Also, would Aubrey's parents and family please stand? And can I also get Mr. Gary and Principal Husky as well? And I'd just like to mention that Mr. Gary is here again tonight. You all may remember him from last month as well with the wrestlers, the Reuben brothers. And so he's here again tonight. So it really says a lot about Mr. Gary as well.
I'm not confident. I ain't gonna say it.
If you didn't hear that, he said he's the man, you said it all. All right, at this time, I'd like to invite Mr. Charlie Davis to recognize our next student.
Mr. Hayes, Superintendent, Blackburn Board members, and audience, it's my pleasure to recognize another student from Timberland High School. Anastasia, as you come up, and I know I'm not saying your name right, so correct me, okay? And her coach, Joy Elizondo. Anastasia is a two-time state champion. She won with the girls 400 4x100 meter relay last year as a state champion. This year she's 400 meter individual state champion. She is the first person in Timberland's history to be a two-time state champion repeater. So she's accomplished a lot in her career at Timberland. She started going to the state meet as an 8th grader and participated, qualified for it. And this year, as a junior, she is a state champion again. One other side note that I find interesting that her brother will remember the rest of his life, there are 3 gold medals in the family. The brother has one as a football player at Timberland from 2011. His sister, his younger sister, has 2. Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. And at this time, I'd like to invite Ms. Amanda Cromer to make our last recognition for this evening.
Chairman Hayes, Superintendent Blackburn, members of the board, guests, thank you for allowing me to introduce our 2016 Rookie Teacher of the Year. Ms. Dorian Palladino is a special education teacher at St. Stephen Elementary. She attended State University of New York at Old Westbury and St. Joseph's College in New York. She has 2 bachelor degrees and her master's and is certified in elementary ed, special education multi-categorical, and special ed early childhood. When reflecting on her first year of teaching, Dorian stated, "I truly believe my purpose in life is to help others. This inner desire to nurture has drawn me to the field of special education. In my classroom, there's no such thing as a disability. I like to look at it as an obstacle. Anyone can overcome obstacles." During her observations, students were actively engaged in music and recitations. They started the day by singing and greeting each other as well as their guests. During the lesson, they sang the days of the week and the alphabet song and later recited sight words that the teacher used to informally assess their knowledge of insects and spiders. It was evident that Ms. Palladino had created a learning environment where all students felt loved and excited about learning. Dr. Norton, Dorian's principal, stated, "I'm truly amazed at how far her students have come in a short amount of time. At the beginning of the year, the students came to the cafeteria to receive their breakfast without saying a word to anyone. Now, the students are talking to me every morning and saying hello." Dorian believes that in order to be a good teacher, we must understand many different classroom practices to fit the needs of our learners. This does not mean we have to follow all of the practices given to us, but to understand and choose ones we believe will make us better as teachers. The progress I've witnessed in each student is undeniable, and I take pride in each individual victory, no matter how big or small. I make sure each child knows that I love them and truly care about their success. Ladies and gentlemen, our 2016 BCSD Rookie Teacher of the Year, Ms. Dorian Palladino.
Wow. Thank you so very much, the board, district, all the guests. This is so overwhelming. Okay, I am so happy to be here, and not only am I happy to be here, I'm happy to be in the great state of South Carolina. I've been born and raised in Long Island, New York, and when I moved here, I had a dream of teaching. A few years ago when I received my master's degree, it was a tough time for teachers. Services were being cut and jobs were scarce. I was working as a waitress in New York to pay the bills, yet I never lost the desire and dream of becoming a full-time teacher. I came to the realization that in order to turn my dream into a reality, I would have to make a dramatic move. So my husband left his career of 17 years to allow me to pursue mine. And I now have the privilege and honor of standing before you as the District Rookie Teacher of the Year. This experience has been surreal, and I truly feel blessed. I first need to thank the district, the board, and special services for all they have done for me upon winning this prestigious award. I am astounded by the generosity and kindness everyone has shown me. I also must take this time to thank my principal, Dr. Leanne Norton, for welcoming me into the SSE family. Dr. Norton, thank you for being incredibly supportive and encouraging in my efforts to change the perception and acceptance of not only my students, but all those with special needs. I'd like to make a promise to everyone in this room, one that I made to myself. I promise to always be a passionate, determined, loving teacher. I will continue to be an advocate for all students. Teaching is my calling and a driving force embedded deep into my soul. This is only the beginning, and I'm eagerly anticipating the journey. Once again, I'm so honored to be selected as your District Rookie Teacher of the Year. Thank you from the very bottom of my heart.
Dr. Norton?
Dr. Norton's here as well.
Dr. Norton.
And that concludes our special recognitions for this evening, but please do take a look at our Legacy Builders publication. If you haven't looked at it already, it's packed with all of the information you need to know about the awesome things that are going on in our district. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Minori. Those of you who are here for the spatial presentations and everything, this would be a good time for you to sneak out if you so desire. As we're preparing. Thank you all for showing up. Moving on to agenda item number 7, citizens' comments. In order to conduct the meeting in an orderly and efficient manner, we ask that you honor the following guidelines. Stakeholder comments are welcome and encouraged. However, the board will not take any immediate action on public comments at this meeting. Any person wishing to address the board must register prior to the meeting, and comments must be regarding programs, policies, or procedures. Comments regarding complaints against employees other than district-level executives or references to students other than children of the speaker will not be heard in public session. Groups addressing the same topic should select one speaker to maximize the participation in the process. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker, and the board has set aside 30 minutes for public comment. The board chair does reserve the right to allot additional time or halt public comments that do not adhere to the guidelines. Okay? At this time, we have our first speaker, Ms. Cora Marrett, having to do with gender issues. Would you come?
Good evening, Corey. Good evening.
First of all, I just want to tell you that I'm shocked that we are actually here to talk about an adult issue in our children's school system. I'm also appalled that our superintendent and the principal at Berkeley High School made a decision for our children and circumvented this board. And quite frankly, I think they both should be fired, because if you're going to make policy without going through the board, you'll do that for any reason. But the issue that we're really here about is the children. These are children that most of can't drive. They're not old enough to vote. They're not old enough to drink. They can't join the military. They can't buy a pack of cigarettes. They can't watch a rated R movie. And you're telling me that they're mature enough and adult enough to make a lifelong, life-altering decision to change their gender. They're not. When they are old enough to drink and join the military and vote and go to a rated R movie, then they can pretend to be anything they want to be. But as long as they're children, they have rules to abide by. And if you don't make them abide by rules, you might as well throw out your student handbook, because you can't enforce any of them. And when I say that, I mean, if boys can go in the locker rooms with girls and vice versa, then you can no longer enforce a dress code. Because if my child identifies with being a gang member, she can dress as one. If she identifies with being a slut, she can dress as one. You will undermine every rule you have if you don't make children follow the rules. When they're adults, they can do as they please. Last night at the Charleston County School Board, 3 members got up and walked out because they didn't agree with what was going on. I highly suggest y'all let your constituents know where you stand on this issue. We need to know where you stand for the majority of your students, for the students who have unfortunately been sexually abused and the trauma they may have received. We need to know where you stand on that, because if you don't want to do the right thing and you want to do the politically correct thing, we will make sure we vote you out of office. Thank you.
Our second speaker will be Nancy Corbin.
Two things that I would like to talk about. One is the speaking policy, the community speaking policy. At the meeting last month, even though you have the authority to extend the time, you had a number of people there wanting to speak to you, and you cut the time off at 30 minutes. When you have an issue like this and you have people in your audience that want to speak, to me it is incumbent on you to allow the public to speak. The second issue that I want to talk about is the transgender issue. This far exceeds 0.3% of the population using the bathroom. And if anybody here has read, which I hope all of you have, the 8-page missive that came down from the Department of Education, you know it's about showers, it's about accommodations. What do we do when our band goes on a school trip now? Because according to that missive, a boy can decide now that he's transgender. And if he wants to stay with Missy, he could stay with Missy. And you can only put an adult in the room with them if you put an adult in every room. There is more to this than bathrooms. And when parents start reading this 8-page directive, maybe they'll begin to understand that this is changing more than a bathroom sign. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mason Merritt.
Good evening. I am Mason Merritt, and I'm a rising freshman, and I will be going to Berkeley Center of the Arts at Goose Creek High School. Some of you on this board know what it's like to be a 13-year-old girl. You know there are self-confidence and self-esteem issues. And we should not have to worry about boys being in our restrooms and locker rooms. The rest of you on this board know what it's like to be a 13-year-old boy. You know what it's like if you and your friends could go into the girls' restroom and not get in trouble. I bet all of you know at least one person who would go into the opposite restroom, not because they are transgender, but just for the fun of it. I'm not asking this board to change anything. I'm asking you to keep things the way they are. These kids are asking you to change to change the rules at the expense of the majority of your students. I would like my voice to be heard just loud, if not louder, than those asking for a change. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Janie Love, or Laura? Love. Okay.
Good afternoon, Chairman Hayes, Superintendent Blackburn, and rest of the members of the Berkeley County Board. My name is Janie Love, and I'm the Executive Director of People Against Rape, the local rape crisis center for Charleston, Berkeley, and Dorchester counties. I am here today to oppose anti-discrimination laws and policies, specifically Senate Bill 1306, which utilize and perpetuate the myth that protecting transgender people's access to restrooms consistent with their gender identity endangers the safety and privacy of others. As an organization whose vision is to end sexual violence, we fully support laws and policies that protect transgender people from discrimination, including accessing facilities that match the gender they live every day. We at People Against Rape applaud Berkeley County School Board's and district's decision to uphold the rights and protections of transgender students in Berkeley County. Those who are promoting these laws and policies that restrict transgender people's access to restrooms claim that these laws and policies are necessary for public safety and to prevent sexual violence against women and children. As a rape crisis center who works to meet the needs of all survivors and end sexual violence in our community, we speak from experience and expertise that this claim is false. We need to base our policy making on fact rather than fear. As advocates, we know that the threat of sexual assault is real and pervasive. However, discriminating against transgender people does nothing to decrease the risk of sexual assault. Sexual assault is a violent crime that involves power, aggression, and control. Sexual assault can happen anywhere, any time of day, to anyone, regardless of age, class, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, sexuality, or gender. According to RAINN, every 107 seconds, someone in the United States is sexually assaulted. 1 in 6 women, 1 in 33 men are sexually assaulted in their lifetime. We at People Against Rape provided services to nearly 500 victims and survivors in the Tri-County area alone in 2015. We know that the victimization rates for transgender people are significantly higher. Around half of the transgender community surveyed has reported being sexually assaulted because of their gender identity, with around 12% reporting being sexually assaulted by other students, teachers, or school staff before they graduate high school. Forcing transgender people out of facilities consistent with the gender they live every day makes them more vulnerable to sexual assault and increases their visibility as targets of abuse. We are all concerned about safety and privacy in restrooms, transgender people included. More than 200 municipalities in 18 states have non-discrimination laws protecting transgenders people access to facilities consistent with their gender identity. None of these jurisdictions have seen a rise in sexual violence or other public safety issues due to these non-discrimination laws, and there is no evidence that transgender people using their preferred gender restroom sexually assaulted anyone.
Need to wrap it up, please.
Okay. Can I say one more thing? Our mandate is to serve and prevent violence against all victims and survivors, regardless of gender identity. As advocates committed to ending sexual assault, we oppose any law or policy that could put anyone at risk of sexual assault or harassment. Thank you.
Our next speaker, Melissa Moore.
So I want to thank everybody on the Berkeley County School Board and everyone in the room tonight who has actually taken steps towards supporting transgender youth and students. I believe that everyone in this room is committed to the safety and dignity of students in our schools. For the people who are opposed to the Fourth Circuit ruling on Title IX, when you say that we need to keep our children safe, but you leave transgender children out, you're sending a message that transgender children are not worthy of feeling safe. When you refuse to use the pronouns or names that transgender students wish to go by, you're erasing their identities and setting an example for other youth to disrespect them and putting their physical safety at risk. When you try to connect statistics on rape and violence against women to the transgender community, you are misrepresenting the facts about sexual assault, who the perpetrators really are, and who the most likely targets will be. When you misrepresent the facts and muddy the waters about sexual violence, that puts our entire community in danger. The fact is that 1 out of 12 transgender women has a chance of being murdered in her lifetime. 1 in 8 transgender women of color has a chance of being murdered in her lifetime. If you truly care about violence and sexual assault, you need to be doing more to address misogyny and working to support members of the transgender community. I thank you all for your time tonight. I thank you, the school district, for your willingness to work one-on-one with transgender students. But I urge you to take it a step further and please implement a policy that will make it easier for transgender students who cannot afford the doctors and lawyers it takes to fully participate in the activities that affirm their gender identities. And furthermore, having to do these one-off arrangements outs transgender students and raises their visibility when most of them really just want to go about their lives as the gender that they identify as. They don't want to be activists. But thank you. That's all I'll say.
Our next speaker is Carol Linder.
I brought my bodyguard, so come over, stand over here. Good evening. We are Carol and Dave. We are the parents of Charlie, who is a 15-year-old transgender child in the 10th grade in this district. First, I want to thank Berkeley County for continuing to work with transgender kids and allowing them to fully participate in activities that affirm their gender identities. The journey has not been an easy one for our family. There is so much misunderstanding out there about transgender people and children. My son currently ranks 5th in his high school class, and he would never harm a soul. My child has to walk across the high school campus just to use the bathroom, which makes him late for class. He's enrolled in all honors and AP classes, so he dreads missing even the first part of class because he may miss vital material. So what does he do? He holds it all day, and he comes home and goes to the bathroom. Tomorrow at work, I encourage all of you to try this experiment. Don't use the bathroom at all. Don't use it at your 10 a.m. coffee break. Don't use it in the afternoon, or don't use it at lunchtime. Don't use it in the afternoon when your poor choice of lunch spots decides to catch up with you. Don't even think about heading in the bathroom real quick before you head home to work. Nope. You need to wait until you walk into your house to use the bathroom. Maybe you can make it all day tomorrow, but the next day, do you think you can make it that day too? But every day? That's what my kid does, and that's what many of the transgender kids are doing and experiencing. When you talk about protecting children, does my son not count? Do these kids not deserve the same support that the other parents speak of? I've heard some of the most hateful rhetoric directed at transgender children like my son by adults who really should know better than to pick on children. When you talk about protecting children, don't all children count? This law treats my son and the other transgender children as second-class citizens. If you want to talk about protecting children, laws such as these put very large targets on their backs and endangers them in the very same bathrooms that you want to keep safe. Rape, molestation, assault, voyeurism, these are all crimes. These were crimes before the bathroom rules came up. And there'll still be crimes no matter what happens, whether they occur in bathrooms, schools, homes, dark alleyways, or churches. We just want our children to be able to go to the bathroom in peace. When it comes down to it, these silly bathroom laws are a solution in search of a problem. I urge Berkeley County and our elected officials to keep the rights of all children in mind when passing laws. And to rephrase the political signs I see plastered all over Berkeley County on our drive on the way, Senator Larry Grooms, who is not here, he doesn't work for us. And he doesn't work for transgender families. I'm done.
Thank you. Our next speaker is David Plantin.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. The definition of a policy is a deliberate system of principles to guide decisions and achieve rational outcomes. A policy is a statement of intent and is implemented as a procedure or protocol. And some of my questioning of school officials and district officials over the course of these issues that we're discussing here tonight, I've been told that there was never an original bathroom policy and that there's no current bathroom policy. However, I was also told by a senior district official that there's a student code of conduct and that if anyone were to violate that by going into a bathroom when they had not communicated to school personnel that they were a transgendered student, then they could be punished for that. When I questioned this official as to how that would be carried out without any kind of verification, I didn't really get any kind of an answer that had any kind of clarity, or certainly an answer that would hold up in court. This particular issue we're talking about, there are two very distinct sides, and both people on both sides are going to be passionate about it at the same exact levels. And because of the distinctions in those differences, I don't know if a gap can be bridged. So what I like to do is just stick to the facts of this issue and where we're at. The original case that all this kind of centers around took place in the state of Virginia. And in that original case, the courts ruled in favor of the school district that they did not have to allow students to go to a bathroom that differed from their biological gender. Every court in America, every appellate court in America has upheld that ruling except for the Fourth Circuit, which South Carolina falls under. However, that 2-to-1 vote that took place in the Fourth Circuit has an appeal against it, which means that there's a stay against that ruling. Which that says is there is no government agency, no federal agency, no state agency, no local agency, no local district school boards that are under any obligation to make any alterations in whatever bathroom policy or procedures or code of conduct have always existed. Now, in the particular case we're talking about here at Berkeley High School, I would commend Principal Steele for looking out for the protection and dignity of all of his students, which has been said several times here tonight. A particular student, I wouldn't mention any names because I know that's against the rules here, but accommodations were made for this student to protect their dignity and protect their privacy, as well as to not infringe upon the dignity and privacy of the remainder of the student body. And those accommodations had already been made without any action from the school district. At some point, a decision was made, according to the school district, in accordance with the Fourth Circuit's ruling, to make a change in this policy. However, there was no legal reason to do that. You were under no obligation to do that. It was a decision that was also made without the authority or without the knowledge of the school board. At our last school board meeting, the group went into an executive session where you were instructed by your legal counsel, who also came out and spoke to the public as well. And I would say that Mr. Regal's comments were ambiguous at best and kind of wishy-washy. It wasn't clear about the ruling. So moving forward, the school board is left to make a decision on how this is going to affect our local community. And I know you never wanted this decision, but sometimes leadership means you have difficult decisions to make. And I would encourage you, as someone said before, you owe it to your constituents to let us know exactly where you stand on this issue. Thank you.
Our next speaker, Leanne Lindley.
Thank you for letting me speak before you this evening. The gentleman just said that there was a stay in the Fourth Circuit Court's ruling. That is not true. It has been appealed. It has actually been remanded to the lower courts for them to reconsider, and it has been appealed, but there is no stay issued. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the protocol surrounding what it means to diagnose a child as being transgender, let me lay it out for you. If they are below puberty and they're diagnosed with gender dysphoria, the parents are advised to let them be themselves. Let them dress like they want, let them play with the toys they want, let them be themselves. Before puberty, they are reassessed. If they're still dysphoric, they are put on puberty blockers, which delays the onset of puberty. That's all it does. If they go off of the blockers, puberty begins and they go through puberty. If you wait till they're 18, in my case, my voice deepened. I grew facial hair. I was miserable for most of my adult life. 16 years old, they are reassessed yet again. And if they're still dysphoric, they're put on hormones, which begins the transition from one sex to the gender. And sex and gender are completely different things. No surgery is done until they reach the age of 18, and that is their decision to make. The parents are looking out for the best interests of their child. Believe me, I wish I had had that opportunity when I was that age. I spent most of my life abusing drugs, alcohol, and binge eating. Since I have come out, I have lost 80 pounds. I no longer drink. I don't do drugs anymore. I used to stutter. That has disappeared. I'm speaking before you now. Where it went, I don't know, but I'm glad it's gone. I have more confidence. I'm self-assured. I've been married to a wonderful woman for almost 19 years, and she knew from the minute we met who I was. So just give us a chance. That's all we ask. We don't want to look at you in the restroom. When I was using the men's room, I never looked. I didn't want to see it. And excuse me, I am not going to sit down on a commode that a man has refused to raise up when he goes to the bathroom. They are filthy. I know it because I work construction and I saw those toilet seats. I sit down when I go to the bathroom. I'm surrounded by four walls. What can I see? Nothing. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Rob and Nicole Parkman.
Hello, my name is Rob Parkman. I'm the father of a five-year-old transgender boy. It's under my impression that the Berkeley County School District uses a policy now on a case-by-case basis, and they use a special accommodation for transgender students in regard to the bathrooms. That's okay. I've learned that they allow transgender students to use the bathroom that's consistent with their gender identity, but it's not good enough because it forces transgender students to out themselves. And in a lot of cases, that's not an option for these people. They receive a lot of stresses from home, from family, from society. This population is subject to violence, high suicide rates when unsupported at home. The suicide rates are up to almost 50%. I don't want to reiterate all the facts that were already given out so eloquently about transgender kids, but I just urge this board in the upcoming school year to adopt the same policies that were already set forth by the Department of Education and to allow transgender students to use the bathrooms that are consistent with their gender identity, and to understand that transgender children and people have always used the same bathrooms that are consistent with their gender identity. To not let them use those bathrooms would be like telling me to use the women's bathroom. So besides all the exterior challenges this community faces, I think one of the largest challenges they face, as the gentleman had just said, are the internal challenges. And like I had said earlier, when they're not supported, they commit suicide up to 50%, 50% suicide rate for this portion of the population. So not letting these kids use the bathroom that is consistent with their gender identity is a form of not supporting them. And I believe the school is an extension of your home. Kids spend a lot of time in school, and they form bonds with their teachers and their fellow students and other administrators. And I think it's a human rights issue to not adopt the same policies that are set forth by the Department of Education. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Sidney Fleming.
Hello, I'm Sidney Fleming, a freshman at Cane Bay High School and an ally to the LGBT community and all people. I frequently attend this meeting with my mom and find it interesting that so many people that I've never seen here are here today. While some may say that certain topics and subjects are important, are we, your future, not important at the time? I want to speak on the example that some of you are setting for children, students, and young adults, maybe in a way that you don't realize. Is this really about safety in bathrooms? I've never felt compromised or unsafe in a bathroom at Cane Bay High School. In fact, that is the least of my and many of my classmates' worries. But as you continue to say that you are making decisions in the best interest of the students, how many of you have spoken to any students? Not just your own child or grandchild, but have you spoken to a critical mass of students to see how we feel? I have not spoken to any of you, and neither have many other students that I've spoken to. So before you make decisions that you continue to say is best for us, how about you get to know us, see how we feel, get our opinion on the bathroom situation, which is really no big deal for many of us until you started making it a big deal. Believe it or not, we have been doing this a long time and had no issues until you made it an issue. After the segment with Debbie Chard, we actually thought awareness would make it better. You can't speak for me if you don't know me, and you will never get to know me if you keep speaking and acting as if other students are not even worth your time and energy to speak with us, not at us. When anything happens, it is often said, where were the adults in the situations, the teachers or the administrators? Well, from where many of us sit, the adults are behaving like children, which leaves us all alone as we try to make sense of the world around us. I hope you will think about this, as many things are said, have been said, and continue to be said that are very negative towards a group of people. It is them now. Will it be me next week, next month, next year? We are people with feelings too and deserve to be respected. This is so much larger than where someone goes to the bathroom. We see it. I just hope you will see it before it is too late. Thank you.
We've got time for one more, Mr. David Perry.
Good evening. Since the last board meeting, there's been a lot of words penned in the echo chambers of the media and elsewhere as to why Berkeley County is having all this fuss about their bathrooms. And as one previous speaker already noted, a very large reason is because this doesn't end at bathrooms. As the OCR edict indicated, it very clearly includes locker rooms, it includes shower facilities. This isn't the end of the road. And regarding the Fourth Circuit opinion, whose legal decision this district decided to step out in front of the train on, I want to read one comment by the judges in the majority opinion there, and you can find this in footnote number 11 if you wish to look it up later. We are unconvinced of the existence of danger caused by sexual responses prompted by students' exposure to the private body parts of students of the other biological sex. So these judges are saying when you get teenagers, for example, together of opposite biological sex in varying states of undress, they admit that sexual responses can be prompted, but they say there's no safety issue there. Well, that requires a suspension of disbelief. And even though they also state that their decision just applies to bathrooms, they are perhaps very clearly foreshadowing here how they would rule in a shower facility case, for example. I also have a couple requests. Let me be the third speaker this evening that would request that the board go on record with a vote as to whether you support the district's decision to step out in front of things and change what had been the bathroom policy. I think as elected officials, the voters of this district are entitled to know where each of their board members stand on that. Lastly, and this might fall under the policy issue the prior speaker brought up, if a student comes to you and says, I'm transgendered and I wish to use the facilities of the gender I identify with, how do you go about analyzing that claim? Testability or falsifiability is the basis for determining whether a claim is valid or whether it's bogus. What's your decision tree look like? What parameters, what criteria are you applying to make that decision? I think parents in this school district are entitled to know how you're going about making that decision process. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, as we did last week, are there any speakers on other topics?
No.
How many are left? Is there just a couple?
Three more.
Three.
If we limit it to like 2 minutes each, can we just go ahead and hear the rest of them so they could all speak?
I would be in favor of letting everyone speak.
Yeah, especially if there's only 2 left.
2 minutes.
2 minutes apiece.
2 minutes for each one.
How many more speakers do we have?
Three.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Maurice Brown.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm going to set my timer as well so I can be in compliance. All right. First, I would like to start by saying there are absolutes in the world. And in the issue with the transgender having a choice, the word absolute to me applies. Absolute meaning a value or principle that is regarded as universally valid or that may be viewed without relation to other things. It's universally valid that by nature men are who they are and by their counterparts, and that women are who they are by their counterparts. That's absolute. This issue is very clear that there is a law in place, a law of nature, like it is with a law of physics, a law of basic math, 2 + 2 = 4. It's a foundation of basic principles, who we are as human beings and who we should live and procreate the earth. And for anyone to come against the basic principle and known fact, that foundation of the human body and its functions, its identity and meaning of life, it is abnormal and, to me, ludicrous. Transgender people say they were assigned a sex that isn't true to who they are. There is a saying that says the proof is in the pudding. Your body, by nature, tells you who you are. No question, no doubt. For someone to think they have the audacity to change what nature, or in my view, what God has given them, which they did not and will never have the power to create themselves, is preposterous. It's out of sync with oneself and abnormal. And for a particular group, whether transgender, homosexual, lesbian, to force that abnormality on the majority of the rest of us who have accepted what nature, the natural parts of what our Creator has given unto us, is wrong and unlawful, invading our rights as human beings and a people of right thinking. If someone felt that nature messed up, and they felt like a cat's head should be on a dog's body and vice versa, they go through the process of beheading the two animals to make themselves happy or feel better. Does not make it right. Does it make it right or even sane? Thank you.
Thank you. Ron Nelson? Yes.
Good evening, Mr. Please excuse my dress attire. I was at Crowfield getting ready to beat Mr. Charlie Davidson on June 17th. What should I say at school board golf tournament, by the way? Good evening to Ms. Blackburn. Mr. McQuillan, a special thanks to you for giving the opportunity for the citizen at our last meeting to hear where the coats are on transgender. Nevertheless, knowing that is a tough issue that the board have to deal with, as I ponder on it after the second reading that I read in the paper last week, I said there have to be some kind of conclusion in order to wrap this up. as I ponder on it, multi-purpose occupancy facility seems to be the thing of the past. If we happen to do away with a multi-occupancy facility, then you probably need to think about how can we make that happen, because therefore everybody entered the facility under their own privacy, whether you're transgender or whether you are normal. So therefore you are entering any facility as a so that's probably appears to be the thing of the past. Multi-purpose occupancy restroom. As I listen to all of the speakers out here, one of the key things is the restroom facility. So, as a recommendation to the board, you need to think deeply into that, of eliminating these multi-purpose occupancy restroom. And of course, there's going to be a cost associated with that. And thank you.
All right, now last speaker then is Riley Rakes.
Short people problems, huh? Anyway, I'm Riley Bakes. I go to Cane Bay High School. I am 18 years old, transgender, and I would love to say, coming from an abnormal child, that we need to do something about the bathrooms. I'm tired of getting outed in front of class. I'm tired of being different. I am tired of listening to all these bigots talk about how I'm nothing to this world anymore. I am a human being. I have skin just like you, eyes, nose, mouth. I breathe the same air as you. I think it's time to change something. And the bathroom policy is one of the things you guys need to change. It's time for me to pee in peace, and that's what it should be. I am no different from anyone else. I shouldn't have to deal with going to school scared. I'm already scared of going to school tomorrow because I have a substitute teacher. Have you ever been called the wrong name, or just a wrong name, just a negative name? You know how that makes you feel inside? It makes me feel that way every day when I get my name called the wrong name, or even my gender marker wrong. I listen to these people talk about how we are nothing to this world, how we mean nothing, how we are abnormal, how we are a disgrace. I'm not no disgrace, and I will be the person to tell you if I'm a disgrace or not. I've been called it. I've been called multiple names, and I am not no disgrace. I will never be a disgrace to this world, and I am who I am, and if you have a problem with it, then you should not even be on this earth either. I am a strong, independent person, and I always will be. I am transgender, and I take that as pride. Anyone else that has a problem with it, I'm sorry, but the world is going to change one day or another. And whether you don't like it, I'm sorry. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, moving on to agenda item number 8, financial services, item for action. Mr. Thomas, we're looking at BVB 464, the 1516 interior painting for Berkeley Elementary and Sangaree Elementary.
I thought I was going to get you to approve the budget, but we'll do this one first.
Mr. Thomas, Mr. Chair, if we could just give our visitors just a minute or so to exit. This would be a good time if you came to speak.
Don't you listen to police out there with them? Because that could be a dangerous situation.
Ready?
Okay, Mr. Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Ms. Blackburn. We have before you best value bid 464 for 1516 for interior painting services for Berkeley Elementary and Sangaree Elementary. We ask for you to approve this bid and award it to B&R Painting for a total cost of $108,000, which is part of our capital improvement list items. So.
All right, do I have a motion?
You do, Mr. Chairman. I make a motion to approve BVB 464 for interior painting services for Berkeley Elementary School and Sangaree Elementary School to B&R Painting Incorporated for a cost of $108,000 as presented by Mr. Thomas in Finance Agenda Item 8.
Second.
All right, we have a motion, and it's been seconded to approve the BVDB 464 for the interior painting services, Berkeley Elementary and Sangaree Elementary, to B&R Painting Incorporated for a cost of $108,000, as presented by Mr. Thomas in Finance, item number 8. Do we have any discussion?
It's a regular scheduled painting that's normally done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's being done to different schools at different times?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, then if there's no other questions, and all of those in favor of this motion, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, you've got your paint.
Thank you. They don't want me painting, I know that.
Moving on to agenda item 9, it's the superintendent's report. The item for information is the 2016 through 2021 strategic plan. Ms. Blackburn.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes. Well, I know you all know we've been down a pretty long road to get to where we are this evening, and I would especially like to say thank you to Sharon Snyder for her leadership, because she's facilitated much of the conversation around what should the strategic plan for the next 5 years in Berkeley County School District look like. I would also like to say that I appreciate our teachers, our administrators, our community stakeholders, the cabinet, and the board for the direction and contributions that each of you made to get us to the point we are this evening. Tonight, our focus is to bring your attention to anything that is different in the document before you than in previous months. So what you'll see is the whole context of the document, and you'll see in bold red something that's different, and that's all we're going to talk about tonight, because we think you probably have this thing memorized by now, because we've talked about it a number of times. As a point of information, it's really important to know that every focus area for each goal has a comprehensive action plan that identifies explicit steps to be taken to allow us to meet the expected targets. And next October, we'll talk to you a little bit about what kind of progress we've made with the action steps, but you're seeing the big picture at this point in time. Also, this summer in our retreat, which is not very far away, I think it's like July the 12th, we're going to ask you all to identify some priority focus areas that you would like for us to pay specific attention to, but we won't do that tonight. So at this time, I'd like to ask Sharon if she would come forward and highlight for us the changes that have been made as a result of the continued input from all the stakeholders. Sharon, thank you again.
Thank you.
I can't believe you're asking Archie.
Thank you so much. I knew I should have brought those. Okay. I know that, like Ms. Blackburn mentioned, we are so happy and thankful that we have finished this process, but it is an ongoing process that we will continually work through as we move forward. But we're anxious, we're glad, it's just a great day. Like Ms. Blackburn mentioned, our vision since the last time you saw that has remained the same. The language that we've used is very tight, and all the stakeholders that we shared this with were very enthusiastic, and they loved that. So that hasn't changed. We listened to the comments that all of you shared with us, and we teetered back and forth on communities and the word community in a part of our mission, and we decided on that the word community because we want to show that oneness of Berkeley County. So that was important. So we kept the word community. Our goal, 1, stayed the same. Now we'll go into our focus areas. We felt it was important that we add this focus area for goal number 1 because we felt that we need to really continuously review and reflect our policies, our processes and procedures that we have in place to support our organization. These focus areas remain the same. Goal 2, student achievement. We listened to the language again, and a lot of our stakeholders, including yourselves, looked at the word common. We're not satisfied with the word common, so we changed that. We kept and we put in place the word unified for when we shared with you information about the unified curriculum. We also added the word system as we spoke about our assessment system. Our focus areas, we felt in our first focus area that we needed to really finish and finalize that first area, so we added to support teaching and learning. That was extremely crucial to our stakeholders as we shared that. Goal 3, communications. That goal remained the same. No changes since the last time we shared. Our focus areas, the first few, stayed the same. We felt in our fourth focus area that we felt that communication was very important and crucial to all of our stakeholders, and that we needed to make sure that communication was two-way, back and forth, so we would also share information, but also take information and feedback continuously. Goal 4, human resources, remain the same. Our focus areas remain the same for the first section. And we thought this was important, and all of you really felt that this was crucial as well. We added the part about supporting the social emotional well-being of all staff, not just students, but all of our staff across Berkeley County. That was very important to us. And goal 5, fiscal responsibility. Our focus areas remain the same. One thing that we mentioned, we had several focus areas, but we felt that we wanted to tighten this goal up in our focus areas. So what you see there as our last focus area, attained an overall unmodified audit opinion, positive bond rating, and maintain an adequate fund balance to ensure the financial stability of the district. Those were originally 3 additional focus areas, so we combined them together into one. We felt that they worked really well, and they were seamless focus areas to include them. Do we have any questions regarding where we are with our strategic?
Sharon, thank you again, and for your leadership and for filtering through the hundreds and hundreds of comments that we had to come out with, I think, some very powerful messages. So thank you again. The last thing I have is just a comment I'd like to share with everyone. I had the privilege this morning of going to the Breakfast for Champions. And if you've never had an opportunity to go, it was a wonderful, wonderful event in which we honored high school students, grades freshmen through seniors, for scholarship, leadership, and academics as well, and service. And it was amazing. I must thank our sponsors, Berkeley County Chamber, Trident Health, South Carolina Electric and Gas, and Charleston Southern University, who are always such great hosts for us. And phenomenal event, and some wonderful young folks were recognized, and each high school had an opportunity for a senior to recognize an outstanding faculty member from that school. And some of the things that the kids said truly touched my heart, and I know it must have touched the heart of those teachers who were praised so highly by the kids, who say, you know what? Teachers make a difference, and they do. And so it was just my pleasure to be a part of such a celebration, not only of teaching and learning, but of kids and working together. And powerful, powerful place to be this morning. And that finishes my part of the agenda.
All right. Then that takes us to agenda item number 10, which is our executive session. And in executive session, we're looking at 9 student appeals. This is a discussion of pending employment matters, including an appointment of an administrator, and a discussion of legal matters. Do I have a motion for us to go into executive session?
Yeah, I'd like to make that motion, but on the discussion of legal matters, to discuss a settlement agreement, I think we've got to be a little more specific on why exactly we're going into executive session to comply with FOIA. So to discuss a settlement agreement is all I know of. There may be other matters, but I think as long as we can be vague.
I will second his motion so he can continue this discussion. Go ahead, Mr. McQuillan.
That's all I've got to say, unless there's something other than a settlement agreement we're discussing, but.
We have a motion to go into executive session. We will entertain 9 student appeals, a discussion of pending employment matters, including appointment administrator, and a discussion of legal matters concerning a settlement.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you.
Is there any discussion?
No, sir.
Then all of those in favor of this motion, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Then we are in executive session.